Fall is officially here, which means it is spook season, aka my favorite time of the year. During the spring and summer is when I go into full hermit mode, hence the lack of videos. But today I've got a big treat for you. I'm recommending 10 horror movies to watch this fall. Some Halloween centric, others chosen just because they have a fall feel to them. I've broken these into themes, so slashers, haunted houses, demonic entities, folkloric legends, so hopefully there's something that hits the spot for you. Also, hello, I go by All Is Dread here on YouTube, and I basically discuss horror movies. In the short 3 or so years that I've been posting on and off, I haven't really covered anything seasonal like this, but the first category is going to be demonic entity, and for that I have chosen the 2020 film, The Dark and the Wicked. Now, this one is about two siblings who return to their rural family farm to care for their ailing father, only to confront a demonic entity that is feeding on their grief. I'm actually glad that I started off with this one because it definitely leans into more of a bleak, dread-filled, slow burn of a story. It really focuses on inescapable evil. Not only that, but it's also the familial collapse. So even at the beginning of the film, we see that the family is kind of fractured as is. Bertino, what he does really well with this movie is he doesn't give an explanation into its origin or the why it's attached itself to this family. But what we do know is that it is not bound by space. This is why I didn't put it into like the haunted house category. It targets people indiscriminately. It will push you to the brink of ending your life. And of course, you can look at this entity as both literal and figurative. I think that was one of the things with this movie that I had to like really think about, was whether it is an actual entity or we're just looking at it in a metaphorical sense. It is a literal entity because it is affecting not just one person. There are multiple people whose lives crumble. But something I think that Bertino does really well with this movie is that he strips down the dialogue so it's more limited and focuses on other sounds around the isolated farmhouse. It's just not really a satisfying payoff. It's incurable. Like, nobody can escape its grip. It's heartbreaking. And the performances are done so well, specifically later on in the film with Maren Ireland, who just fantastic. I think one of the movies that I watched that she was in, Birth, Rebirth, that landed in my best. I think it was last year, if I'm not mistaken, or the year before. It's so heartbreaking when I think about it, like just her feeling neglected or abandoned, betrayed by her brother. And yeah, she really sells the performance. If you're looking for something a little bit more intense this fall, watch this one. Now, the next category that I have is haunted house, and this one might surprise you. An obvious choice would be The Changeling from the 80s. That one's a really good one. Definitely more of a traditional haunted house. My pick is going to be 2021's The Deep House. So this one is about a diving couple who explore a submerged house only to discover supernatural horrors lurking underwater. Before we even say anything, I know the criticisms for this movie valid, but I can't get over the fact that I really enjoy this novel concept of taking the haunted house trope, bringing it underwater. I really do think that they should explore this further and better. I know that sounds shady, but I'll get to my point. On a technical level, those aspects work really well with this movie. I really enjoyed the cinematography, and just reading about it, the fact that they actually had a tank with a house, a replica, was submerged in the tank. The actors were scuba certified, and of course they had it, fully furnished, decorated, and all these set pieces. This is a Blumhouse production, and while this survival horror does read more as a summertime watch due to the exterior, it primarily is set in the haunted house underwater, so I think it's perfect for the fall. It also has multiple antagonists, so you could look at the corporeal beings as the main antagonist, but also water. It's working against them. Not only that, but they are their own worst enemy. So they're panicking in the situation, which their oxygen levels are going down. I don't blame them entirely, because I really don't know how I would react in that situation. But then again, also, I don't think I would put myself through that just for content. Which brings me to my main issue with this movie, which would be the writing. Some of the dialogue, just explaining the obvious, but some selling points of this movie for me personally would have to be the motivation. So urban exploration, because when I first started my YouTube channel and I didn't know what in the hell I was doing or what niche I was really going to get into, I did an urban exploration video of some abandoned town here in Florida. And then also another one would be how it mirrors found footage, some of the aesthetics with the handheld devices, the drone that they have in this movie. It's one of my favorite parts, especially with the flash that it has when it just covers everything in this red tint. It definitely has some disorienting effects to it that I really enjoy. Like I said, the writing could have been a lot better, but it's passable. I give it a 3 out of 5. The next category I have is creature feature, which I'm really excited to talk about. And I know what you're thinking. The obvious choice would be Pumpkinhead, which I have somewhere here on Blu-ray. Obviously, love that movie, but my selection is going to be 2021's Antlers. So this one is, of course, directed by Scott Cooper, and it follows a small town teacher who uncovers that her student harbors a monstrous secret tied to the Wendigo. Now, like I said, this is tied to the Wendigo mythology, and personally, I would love a movie that has a full Native American cast. Pretty similar to like how the representation was in Prey. I would love that, but with a Wendigo. Definitely a bleak cinematography, atmospheric dread that just is palpable and carries throughout the entire runtime. Despite it not being a Halloween-centric movie, I think it fits the fall vibe. Pacific Northwest, Oregon, just Lucas when he's going through this heavily forested area and just all the leaves everywhere. Come on, you can't tell me it's not appropriate. I mean, it just speaks to me also due to the setting because I grew up in Washington State, so just seeing that side of the US, gorgeous. Obviously, the town where they live in is a little bit more of a sketchy area, and Amy Madigan is in this. I wanted to point her out above everybody else because we recently saw her in Weapons, and I think I just saw her in another movie earlier today before filming, which was George A. Romero's The Dark Half, the Stephen King adaptation. That woman, incredible. I'll always remember her from Uncle Buck. What a good year for her. As much as I love this movie, it's not perfect. I do have criticisms about it. Reeves tropes, the retired sheriff, the only Native American character who kind of gives us a mythology dump, and then that's pretty much it. And then also the ending is a bit rushed. Definitely could have stretched that out a bit more, but the creature design in this, perfect. I have no complaints. And like I said earlier, I really like that gradual shift of seeing this person become the Wendigo once it's fed on human flesh. Amy Madigan's character, which it took me a second. I almost forgot she was in this movie, and I was like, that's right, she was the principal. But yeah, if you have the opportunity and you haven't watched this one, please do. I do own it. It's on DVD, but eventually I might upgrade, might not. I mean, it looks fine on DVD. All right, and my next category is slasher. I know what you're thinking, probably Terrifier, Halloween. I chose 1981's The Burning. So this one is about a disfigured caretaker who returns to a summer camp for bloody revenge. Now this one, of course, is an early slasher akin to something like Friday the 13th or Sleepaway Camp. It is anchored in the real New York Cropsey legend, but one of the best things about this movie, the effects by Tom Savini, hands down, and how it manages to subvert my expectations because the raft scene, the raft massacre, I should say, kind of a fake out moment. I really thought it was going to go in one direction, and lo and behold, really surprised me. This one also has a very interesting ensemble of actors. So early breakouts, Jason Alexander, Holly Hunter, which I just recently watched in Copycat with Sigourney Weaver, also Fisher Stevens. One of the best things about this movie, of course, aside from Tom Savini and his magic that he does, would have to be the structure of this film, the pacing. Up to the very end, when we get a bit of a twist, which was a little unexpected for me. I don't know, maybe that was an obvious thing, but not for me. And also just the anticipation to see Cropsey's face. So really good film, highly underrated, I would say. I don't really think this is one that gets discussed that much. I believe it does have some sort of cult following, not one of the more overt movies that people discuss in, the horror sphere. So please watch. The next category that we have, I've titled it Witching Hour, and my selection for this one is 1960's The City of the Dead, aka Horror Hotel. So this one is about a student who's researching witchcraft when she visits Whitewood, Massachusetts, and discovers a coven living beyond time. Now, if I recall correctly, this one has nothing to do with Halloween. It in fact has to do with a witch's Sabbath performing a ritual on something called Candlemas Eve. You can definitely read up on it, but you cannot tell me that this is not the perfect movie to watch during the fall. I mean, the setting, we've got cobblestone roads, candlelit inns, graveyards drenched in fog. It's the perfect recipe. This one opens with the witch burning prologue, which I find impactful, as well as the ending of this film, and also Whitewood as this liminal space between the real living world, but also the coven's ritualistic space. I believe there's even a character in the movie that mentions that Whitewood is a place where time stands still. So we're being blatantly told that it is beyond time, or this liminal space. And Christopher Lee's performance, just excellent. And any of the films that he's been in, RIP to that man, because he's really menacing in this one, starting off as the professor, and then we find out that he's part of the coven. I watched him in The Devil Rides Out, and I didn't really like that movie, but his performance, solid. Random side note, but I think he's one of the most handsome men to have existed. So, But still, so fascinating discovering this one, which is free on Tubi, by the way. It's so crazy thinking about this film and also Psycho coming out around the same time, same year. I don't believe they have any sort of knowledge of each other, but it's crazy the similarities as far as the narrative structure. Definitely different in its exploration. One is definitely more tied to occult rituals with this yearly sacrifice of a virgin, Nan, for example. Whereas Psycho is obviously a psychological journey of matricide. All right, now we're going to start getting into more of the festivities with Halloween-centered movies. So jack-o'-lanterns, pumpkins, decorations galore, trick-or-treaters, etc. And the movie that I have selected is 1988's Lady in White. On Halloween 1962, a boy encounters the ghost of a murdered girl and unearths a dark secret in his small town. Now, this one, of course, is a coming-of-age story that follows Frankie, who's trying to unravel the mystery behind who killed this little girl and also trying to reconnect her to her mother. I really like those parts of the movie where he is interacting with the ghost, but also the beginning of the film, just seeing this Italian grandmother yelling at her husband walking across the lawn because the grandpa is smoking, and just the warmth of it all. The warm hues really repleted and satiated my appetite for what I wanted for a fall movie. It doesn't carry throughout though, so the entire movie is not set on Halloween night. I really enjoyed this one. It definitely is more of an easy watch despite its, subject matter, which I'm not gonna lie, the implication or subtext involved, I don't think younger audiences will really grasp it, but I certainly did as far as child abuse. The movie has an interesting way of beckoning you into the experience with the more horrific crime and also the lighter tones of the film, but I found it very mesmerizing. Even the visuals of this movie, more in line of a dark fantasy. And like I said, when it comes to the narrative of this movie, we're following innocence being stripped back by the predation of this particular character, which I was so satisfied at the end at what happens to this character. Overall, I would highly recommend this one, and I'm going to make it a year-round watch. Up next, we have Dark Fantasy, which this movie could have gone into creature feature as well, but this is where I've placed it. And the movie is 2023's Dark Harvest, one of my absolute favorites, which directed by David Slade. So the movie is about a small town's teenage boys who are forced into a deadly ritual chase after Sawtooth Jack each Halloween. I really don't like how I wrote that out, but we're going to make do with what we've got. So Midwestern town, where themes being explored here would be cycles of violence, sacrifice, masculinity. The adults are literal shitheads, and they're duping the teenagers, making them believe that whomever is able to catch Sawtooth Jack and kill the creature before it reaches the church, they'll win this beautiful prize. I believe it's a car and then a home. Like I said, it cycles, so the winner is not left unscathed. Something that I didn't mention 2 years ago when I talked about this movie would have to be the run itself, mirroring a form of initiation or hazing, this sort of toxic rite of passage with these boys going wild. Great visuals though, great gore, definitely excelling with the costumes, the masks, and also this sort of Norman Rockwell sort of old Americana setting. I'm not gonna lie, for the life of me, I can't remember how this movie ends, but I really do want to rewatch it. So at some point this month for October, I'm going to be revisiting this movie. Great concept though. Just a few nitpicks as far as like the pacing, and I think it's how the movie starts. I think that was my main issue. But then once we really get into it, then I'm like fully in. Next category being mock doc broadcast, and the movie for that one is 1992's Ghost Watch. A faux live TV broadcast investigates a haunted house, triggering mass panic in the UK. This one, if I'm not mistaken, definitely did cause some controversy due to the faux documentary realism, so looking at belief versus skepticism. Aside from all that, revisiting this was an enjoyable experience, and it has to do with the natural progression of the events unfolding and the different moving parts of the movie. So we'll go from the studio to outside the home where they're reporting on it to inside the home where the haunting or this phenomenon is taking place. What's so satisfying about this one is that it's like a trail of breadcrumbs that's just reeling you in with each and every new piece of information that you gather from every different source, and learning more about pipes, really just building up to those last few moments that I actually did find terrifying, especially with some of the implications and what Pipes was all into. I think revisiting this one made me think of possible influences for later films like Paranormal Activity or even Late Night with the Devil. Certain scenes in Ghost Watch made me think of Late Night. So next category is anthology, and I bet you're probably thinking Trick or Treat, but I'm actually choosing 2013's All Hallows Eve. A babysitter finds a VHS tape on Halloween night and its disturbing contents unleash Art the Clown. Now, this one, of course, that I'm recommending does have a low budget sort of grittiness to it. Very disturbing in some aspects, especially when it comes to Art the Clown. And one particular scene that I was thinking about that I really wanted to point out as far as disturbing aspects of this, the girl that he catches up to, all the profanities that he writes on her body, just marks her with. Yeah, just the way that is told, it solidified that this is a very terrifying antagonist. I could definitely see this as being something that I would have seen on like a VHS tape or on the shelves if we still had Blockbuster. This introduction of Art the Clown does feature the Ninth Circle as well as 2 other segments. It was filmed on a shoestring budget. And what's my favorite aspect of this movie would be the cursed media, or using this VHS tape as a sort of transmission to bring about Art the Clown, which I'm gonna go ahead and recommend because I believe it's underrated, even though some people think it's derivative because of the cursed media tape kind of following suit to VHS or The Ring even. I don't get sick of that type of stuff. So I think it was fine. I didn't find it really clunky as far as like how some people describe this. But then again, it's been a minute since I've watched it. Now, the second one, All Hallows Eve 2, no, thank you. Okay, and the last category that we have is haunted attraction. A group of friends visit an extreme haunted house attraction only to discover the performers are killers. Now, I'm so thankful that I rewatched this one prior to filming because I love it even more as far as the practical effects, the gore and violence. 10 out of 10. Can't complain. Even caught me off guard. It's been a while since I watched this movie prior to, recent. It really did catch me off guard. I was like, wow, I didn't remember that from last time. What it does really well with this one, or the way it sets it up, I'm thinking it's going to be a little bit more cheesy. It's not going to be as intense. And then some of the kills in this movie, wow. It definitely is a thrilling ride where you're following these characters as they're being hunted by these masked maniacs in this claustrophobic set design of just chaos. And it really messes with you psychologically because you're thinking like, oh, maybe this character is actually benefiting me or assisting me in some way. And it's just really part of the larger scheme. This is one that I recommend to my friends, but I think it goes unnoticed, similar to the Halloween tree, but next month, because at the time of filming, it is, let me see, September 28th. So whenever I publish this on YouTube, it'll already be October, but next month, I'm going to be having a Halloween get together with friends, costume, get dressed up and have some snacks and watch movies, a little movie marathon. This is definitely one of the ones that I'm going to have on my list. So I'm recommending it to you guys, but also for my event. And look at that, I actually have it on Blu-ray, which I also have The House is October Built on Blu-ray as well. Another really good one, by the way, that really kind of grew on me. Then you have this added layer of dread just building and building through anticipation because you get to see the traps, and then you're wondering what is going to happen to these characters, and when they do, especially one member of the group, I think I was recalling the kind of the goofball and what happens to him. Anyway, this is another one that has a great start with the college campus sort of exterior, showing us the Halloween decor, how they've got it all set up, and then leading to a pumpkin being smashed. Let me know if I was a bit deceptive by wearing this bloody, disgusting Michael Myers t-shirt. I originally did have it on the list, but decided against it. Trick or Treat, all those like really well-known, iconic figures in horror. Anyway, I hope you guys have a good rest of your night. I hope I provided some good recommendations for you to watch this fall. And I hope you enjoyed this video, the structure. I'm doing it again for 2 more videos that I'm going to be working on. Just next time, this light is so annoying and it's so bright. Next time, I'm going to film during the day. I don't want to film during this time of night anymore. It's already almost, oh my God, it's almost 4 in the morning. I need to go to bed. Anyway, hope you guys have a good rest of your night. Take care. Thank you for tuning in.